Journey to the Center of the Earth. Chapter 1. Our story begins on May 24th, 1863, at a little house in Hamburg, Germany. On that day, Professor Otto Lidenbrock comes home from work early. "Look," he says to his nephew, Axel, "this wonderful book comes from the old shop near here, and it's got Arne Sagnesom's name in the front." "Who's Arne Sagnesom, and what's the book about?" asks Axel. "I can't read it." "That's because it's in Old Icelandic. Sagnesom's an old Icelandic scientist from the 1500s, and this book's more than 400 years older than him." Just then, they find a dirty old paper in the book. "Look," says Professor Lidenbrock, "it's a secret message, I'm sure." Professor Lidenbrock and Axel want to understand the message on the paper. They work on it all afternoon. "It's no good," says the professor angrily that evening. "I can't understand it," and he goes out of the house for a walk. The fire in the room is very warm. Soon Axel feels hot. He moves the paper in front of his face. Suddenly, Axel can read the message through the paper. It's a secret message from Arne Sagnesom, he thinks, but it's backwards. Now Axel understands the message. He's afraid. Just then, his uncle comes home. Axel is afraid of his uncle too. "Well, Axel," says Lidenbrock, "can you understand the message now?" Yes, uncle," says Axel. "You must read it backwards." "Of course," says Professor Lidenbrock. "Good boy, that's it." The professor reads the message. "Go down into the crater of Snæfellsnes before the last day of June, when the shadow of Scartaris falls across it, and you can go to the center of the earth. Arne Sagnesom." "Uncle," Axel asks the professor, "where's Snæfellsnes?" "In Iceland," answers Lidenbrock. "It's an old volcano." "But uncle, nobody can go to the center of the earth and come back alive," says Axel. "It's very hot and dark down there, I'm sure." "Yes, they can. Arne Sagnesom's message tells us that," says Lidenbrock. "But is his message true? We must go to Iceland and see." "Now remember, Axel, this is a secret," says Lidenbrock. "We want to be the first scientists of our time to go to the center of the earth." Later, Axel meets his fiancée, Grauben. He tells her about his uncle's secret plan to go to the center of the earth. "I don't want to go," he says. "I want to stay here with you." "Of course you must go," says Grauben. "What a wonderful journey. And when you come back, you can marry me." All the next day, Lidenbrock and Axel get different things for the journey. At last, late that evening, everything is ready. At 5:30 the next morning, the professor and Axel leave for Iceland. "Goodbye, Axel," says Grauben. "Remember, I'm waiting for you." "Be quick, Axel," calls Lidenbrock. "Our train leaves Hamburg at 6 o'clock. We must be on it." Chapter 2. Professor Lidenbrock and Axel take a train to Denmark. They've got a lot of luggage. The next day, they arrive in Copenhagen. There, Lidenbrock finds a ship. They sail across the sea to Iceland. Lidenbrock feels bad because there's a storm at sea. On the 13th of June, they arrive in Reykjavik. When they get off the ship, they can see a mountain. "Look over there, Axel," the professor says excitedly. "That's Snæfellsnes." Many people come to see the boat arrive. The professor and Axel meet a science teacher. His name is Mr. Fridriksson. "You can stay at my house," he says. In the evening, the professor and Fridriksson talk about Iceland. "There are lots of interesting things for a scientist to see in Iceland," says Fridriksson. "Really?" answers the professor. He doesn't want to tell Fridriksson about his plan. "Yes. Do you know Snæfellsnes?" asks Fridriksson. "It's a volcano." "A volcano? That is interesting. Nephew, we must visit the Snæfellsnes mountain. You can go there on foot, but you need a guide," says Fridriksson. "I know a very good man. We can meet him tomorrow." The next morning, they meet Hans Bilke. "Can you be our guide and take us to Snæfellsnes?" asks the professor. "We must arrive there before the 30th of this month." "Yes," answers Hans, "I can." Soon their luggage is ready. They take a lot of food and water with them. On the 16th of June, they leave Reykjavik. Lidenbrock and Axel are on the horses. Hans walks in front and 2 more horses take the luggage. 1 week later, they are near Snæfellsnes. It's an old volcano, but old volcanoes sometimes erupt, too, thinks Axel. Snæfellsnes has 2 tops, says the professor, and we're going to the top of Skartaris, over there. They leave the horses and begin to go up the mountain. Axel soon feels tired, but the professor is excited, and he stays not far behind Hans. When they arrive at the top of Skartaris, they are cold, hungry, and very tired. It's midnight, but they can see the lights of the sun in the sky. The next morning, Professor Lidenbrock speaks quietly to Hans. Axel and I are looking for the center of the earth. Do you want to come with us? Yes, says Hans, and the 3 men begin to go down into the crater. Chapter 3. When Hans, Lidenbrock, and Axel arrive at the bottom of the crater, there are 3 black holes in front of them. Where do we go now? Asks Axel. I don't know. We must wait and see, says the professor. It is the 28th of June. Suddenly the sun comes out and the shadow of Skartaris falls on one of the holes. It's Aunt Sarknesson's sign, says Professor Lidenbrock excitedly. Come on, we go down that hole to the center of the earth. They go through the hole and climb slowly down. It takes them 10.5 hours to arrive at the bottom. What a very long climb. Now they are 2,000 meters from the top of Snæfellsnes. In the morning, they eat breakfast, and Professor Lidenbrock looks at his compass. Now, he says, the journey begins. They take the lamps and go into a big dark tunnel. They walk for a very long time. Axel and the professor look at the crystals in the walls of the tunnel. What wonderful crystals, Axel says. Yes, says Lidenbrock. Hans walks in front of them. He doesn't say a thing. On the second day, the big tunnel stops suddenly. In front of them, there are 2 small tunnels. Which tunnel do we take now? Asks Axel. The tunnel on the left, says Lidenbrock. They go into the new tunnel. Slowly they walk down it, but sometimes the tunnel goes up for a long time. Uncle, perhaps this is the wrong tunnel. It's going up, says Axel. But Lidenbrock doesn't listen. He doesn't stop. After 5 days of walking, the tunnel stops. We must go back, says Professor Lidenbrock angrily. But Axel is worried. We haven't got any water, he says. They go back to the first big tunnel. Now they go down the small tunnel on the right, but they can't walk very well because they are all very thirsty. That night, Axel is sleeping when he hears a noise. He opens his eyes at once and sees Hans. Their guide is walking away with the lamp. Where is he going? Maybe he's leaving us, thinks Axel. He closes his eyes again tiredly. An hour later, Hans comes back. Water, he says quietly to Lidenbrock. Come. Axel, get up, cries the professor, and they quickly follow Hans. After some time, they can hear water through the tunnel wall. Hans makes a hole in it. Water comes out, and at last they all drink. Don't close that hole, Hans, says Lidenbrock. Now this stream can be our guide.